Welcome back to our show, The Voice Show at Science TV. Remember, our airing time is 8 p.m. on Friday. On Friday, we always have The Voice Show. And remember, we have a story with Damaris, how she was growing up. She woke up, went to school, a normal school day, and later, one ear lost the ability to hear. She thought of being patient, maybe it would change. But later, she thought she would be partially deaf, but shock on her, everything changed and both lost the hearing. Now, let us continue. Damaris, you said you've worked for 1 year, and then you decided to go back to school. The principal was doubting. You are the only deaf person, the other students are hearing. And you later decided to call your former principal, your former head teacher in the school you were schooling in, so that the principal could know how was this lady learning without an interpreter. Now take it up from there.
So, after the principal of the college decided to consult with my former head teacher and agreed that I can learn, so the principal wanted to see me and to come face to face and prove to him that I can learn without an interpreter. So, I came with my father and entered the college. We sat with the principal, and now the principal told me, assume I'm the teacher. Now, can you read? So he asked me, what's your name, and some questions, and I answered normal. So the principal was very shocked, and he decided to be like, okay. He gave me the papers, the documents, I signed, and later in September, I started my class. So I went back home and prepared everything, and then I went back to class, and I entered with the hearing. All of them were hearing, and they thought I was just as normal as they are. So I volunteered to sit on the front row. And that time, you couldn't speak
Oh, because
without
I
mask.
remember there was COVID.
Yes, it was all projection. Others could hear, but I couldn't because we were using mask. So the other hearing students, when the lectures was continuing, they were doubtful and they started having a side talks, but I couldn't speak back. So one of my friend tried to talk to me, but I couldn't hear. So I told them that I was deaf, and he volunteered to tell the class that we have a deaf among us, and please, whatever she needs, please assist her. So others was started to worry about how will I learn without an interpreter, but all of that didn't really bother me. So the teacher later, when the teaching was continuing, he used to give me the summary of what he has been taught. The other learners could learn and write whatever they're saying. So for the hard words, I used to go back home with Wi-Fi, and then I Google and search, and then I understand whatever the class was being taught. So when the exam came, I didn't use the hard words. I used the words that I got from the internet. And fast forward, I became sick.
While in college? You
Yes,
became
yes,
sick while in college?
yes. I went to hospital and I stayed for 4 weeks because it was a surgery.
A surgery where? Where were you
A
operated?
surgery on my foot.
Sorry for that. Was it a fracture or what was it?
Before joining college, I used to run for the national in Nairobi. I tried to compete for the national, but I became sick. I got a fracture, and then I went back home and I stayed in the hospital. So for 4 weeks, the class was continuing, and I missed a lot of class. But for 1 month, I went back to class. Hospital for a whole month. The class was continuing, so I missed the class for 4 weeks. They had learned, so I went back to class. The teacher asked me if I was good. They knew I was in hospital, so they didn't add an extra school fees or whatever. So I went back to the college, and when the term ended, I joined my group and I continued until I finished. The last semester, the final semester, I became number 3 and then I finished college.
Hey, congratulations. Now, finally, it's the degree and the graduation. Sorry, the
But before
graduation.
finishing, on 2021, I started to develop an interest of traveling. The school organized a tour for us. We traveled to Tanzania and we didn't use the hotel. We went for camping. So we made tents and we bought sleeping bags and we cooked for ourselves whatever the school provided. So we stayed there for a whole week, but we used to sleep with animals. The police were there, the security was there, so we weren't afraid. So one day we decided to go to another camping to Mount Longonot. It was the first time to climb the mountain, so I had the interest. Before I had an interest of hiking. So we started with school. We went to that mountain. Then we were to stay for 3 days, but we stayed there for a whole week. So one day, the teacher said, "You going there? You'll sleep alone, and then you come back and sleep as a group in a tent." So we were designated some tents apart from one another. You have to sleep alone. There are buffaloes there. There are animals there. So the teacher was very concerned about me sleeping alone and asked, "How will you sleep alone?" Imagine and remember, the teacher brought, he asked us to bring first aid kits because we'll be on ourselves. If an animal bites you or if you get grabbed by an animal, there is no doctor, there is no light. So you need to survive and live in the jungle in that situation. So the first time the teacher asked me, "How will you sleep alone? You, how will you sleep alone? Because I won't be here, I'm going back." So I slept alone for 12 hours. I pitched the tent. It was a small tent for myself. And then I made some woods and some ranks from where I'll sleep. It was painful because the snakes were there and I was very skeptical. So if something happened, he told me if something happened, just scream from the top of your voice and then we'll come and try to rescue you. So I slept for 12 hours. We couldn't use the phone because if the lights come up, it will attract some animals. So the phones were not allowed. So I didn't sleep. I stayed awake because I loved the phone. Imagine staying awake for 12 hours.
Hey, life must be very important.
There was no phone. There was no phone allowed. So for 12 hours, I stayed as a watchman. When the morning came, I was the one who went and woke the other up. So from that experience, I generated a love for nature. I loved to travel to different places, to different forests because of that experience. So some deaf usually say you're very lucky because you can speak, and you are lucky than us because we couldn't speak and we couldn't hear and our English is poor. But honestly, I'm not lucky.
But we face the same challenges,
Yes, the same
because
challenges.
what is more important is hearing.
Yes.
But we are all equal, the situation is the same. I don't know why people assume that people who can lip read and speak are better off than others. And that is not true, I want to confirm. The challenge is equal. We face the same challenges equally. Because assume if somebody is calling me and I didn't lip read it well, what would happen?
Nothing.
I feel the best thing is to hear. Assume a cow is coming to attack me and you, we would suffer the same way because nobody will come to tell me there's a cow coming. I will be stuck and my mind will be off. So I feel the challenge is the same. So I know people feel the best thing to do is to express yourself because through repleading and mouthing, if you're stuck, you cannot lip read. So I feel sometimes you are found in the both situation where you need to hear and to lip read. And I believe and I know we face the same challenges because the biggest thing that we want to get is information. So assume maybe I lip read something that is not right. And I assume maybe everything I saw was correct. But the moment we sit down with you to have a talk, I am in a shock. Recently, I have just grasped something that was not right because lip reading and speaking, I feel there's a very huge variation in that. Now, in the camp, you think that you did not even sleep, and later you changed your mindset. So let us have a short break, and then we shall be back.
Welcome back. When I've never thought about sleeping in a camp, or but and this is because I believe everyone for the first time, whether standing, sitting, or they're somewhere, and you see, for example, you're not used to being independent, and you've been having the support of your family when you're at home. In school, you have the head teacher who supported you. When you went ahead to maybe secondary school, the teachers were there to support you, and everyone was there to protect you. Throughout your life, you never experienced being independent, but this is for the first time you come to experience it, and you're looking at life where you're getting to get to bed alone each and every day, and this is something you've never done previously in your life. So the first time sleeping alone, how was it? Because as you've said, it makes a person changes, maybe giving you confidence, and you have maybe you get to pick some interests. And you've talked about loving nature and travels, and sometimes some things I also enjoy traveling. That's something I like doing.
Maybe one day we'll go to camping together.
I remember one time I went for camping. I had to sleep in a tent, and I had a torch. I used my torch. I had my torch on the whole night. I never turned it off because I didn't really know what was happening outside. I was never comfortable. I just kept on praying and I'm hoping I get to see the morning. But that's all about my camping experience. But also, I was so afraid and I was so much fidgeting. I just couldn't sit there and not allow anything to happen.
Sometimes when you volunteer to go to camping, it is like you've stayed in one place or in one environment for a long time. So when you move to a new environment, that is the feeling that you get. When you've left everything, so that is the feeling that you get.
Okay. So, how was your journey for you to become an environmentalist? Okay, so can you please tell us your journey, how you became Miss Tourism?
Okay, in Mist Tourism for Nyandarua County, this is how it started. Previously, when before I sat on my exam in college, I got a text from my county MCA who works in Nyandarua. He told me that I need to apply for told me that my age, I wasn't of age limit. So I let it go. Later, the uncle heard about it again, and then he advocated that the age to be reduced. So I advocated for my department, and then they accepted to reduce the age. So later, the challenge for auditioning was the challenge, and the interviews. I didn't prepare myself. I was just normal, doing my duties at home, being busy with things at home. So they texted me, please, we are having some auditioning next week. So please come. Don't dress. I mean, you just come. I didn't know how to. I didn't have the dress, the shoes, everything I didn't have. But I just went and tried my luck. Uh, I'm a deaf person. I didn't know how to model, but I had a lot of challenges, but I decided to go. So they contacted my parents. We don't have You don't have money, but just try and use something so that can help you for your auditioning. So I looked for some white dress, some white shoes, and then I decided to go. Uh, at the auditioning, I won the question about Nyandarua County. And then I later progressed to the final, where now all the contestants will be coming to join the pageant. So everyone was there, and then we started discussing the first one, the second one, many categories, themes.
Okay, that is
I
interesting.
didn't know about the themes. I thought the audition was the final, and then me given the award, and then I leave. So the themes, traditional wear, I didn't know all about that. So they asked me to train about how to model and how to catwalk. I watched the catwalk on YouTube's in my home, and that made me I made some white tapes and really made some steps towards everything and to modeling. I trained alone. I used to go to shops, trekking back home, using the modeling capacity, going to home, going to shop. I was all about modeling.
So now everything that was happening in your life was actually a change, something different. You have joined modeling.
I got the dress and the things that was needed, the culture wear, the tradition wear. I got all the categories right. So the culture wear, the cultural things. So I tried and asked the model. Now the model has finished. Can I please be helped so that I can attain some things and buy for some things? So the dinner wear, the dinner dress.
Yes, dinner dress.
Yes, I missed the dinner dress. I thought it was just as a normal dress like yours, but they said no, you need to have a dress with stars and glitters. So I tried and looked for a shop, and they told me it was 10,000.
What? 10,000 for a
10,000.
dress?
Imagine. Uh, my parents had no money, so that was my challenge. My family was stacked, so I pleaded with the bank to get a loan, but they didn't approve it. So I decided to make a deal with the shopkeeper. He told me this dress will be yours if you win the contest, but if you fail, you have to pay for 10,000. I said
What?
okay. I decided to take the faith, and I just accepted the deal. So I took the dress.
What an agreement.
So 2 days before the modeling, the contest, I agreed with the shopkeeper that he should come and see, so that I don't lie about winning or failing the contest. So we planned the context. Everything was good. He told me to start. Told me to start the category. I thought I will be put in the middle, but they told me to start. So in 24, it was 14 contestant and all that 16. I was the first one. I was skeptical, a little bit shy, but people were celebrating me, and that made me feel confident. So I continued with the context. Later, in the midnight, all the categories were done, and then they started asking me questions. So the first question was about me. I asked correctly. If you failed, you had to go back, and then you progress. So they started announcing people who have won, and then the final was me because I was the number one. So the governor of Nyandarua County was there, and all the staff people who works in the county were there. So they were like, how can a deaf person win a contest among the disability people, among the people with hearing, and she's a disability. She has disability. Now there was another person who was there who was having disability, but she won on the category of disabled people. But I won overall the category of disability and the hearing people. So they gave me a check, and they offered me a job at the county government for the tourist sector.
Wow.
Whatever I learned in school, I got a job that matched with whatever I learned in school. I got another call from Nairobi at the Germany embassy. They called me. They wanted to propose me to be a director in filming.
Wow.
But I hadn't learned about filming, so it was just my passion and interest. I wanted to act. So after the interview, I'm Zungu from German. And I had learned about filmmaking. So I was just interested and I wanted to be an actor. So the interview, it went well. They had an interpreter, a Mzungu interpreter from German. So he recently came. That time we hadn't met before, so it was our first time to meet. The German called me to make a story and become an actor. An actor for me from August. So that was the month that the film was projected.
Congratulations.
Now I was working as in that company as a director of filming, and also doing some typing, and also as a set director, making everything and decoration. So that is the work that I was doing there. And now I'm working as a film director. I was recently called by Hotel for Tourism to take a video for tourism at Sarova Panafric. They called me for an interview. It hasn't done. It hasn't happened yet because something happened to my family member and I had to postpone the interview. So I asked them to change for the date of the interview because something had happened with the family member. So that is me.
Wow.
Sometimes the deaf people say I'm a lucky person because I got an easy job very easily. But you see, the challenges that I've faced, there are a lot, and getting job is not really easy.
That is so true. That is so true. I love how you've actually expressed and said everything from how you are young, how you started, and how you've actually grown up. Because somewhere people look at maybe you and maybe they can decide the opportunities that you're supposed to take, but maybe sometimes they don't accept you for these opportunities and they overlook you because you're deaf instead of being there and supporting you. But you've had enough support in your journey and you've actually made transformation in getting these opportunities. At the same time, I love the confidence that you have because when opportunities present themselves, someone might think that you're not enough, but you've actually even tried, you've taken the step to try. And we have the deaf in the world, we have the hearing world, and you've actually even gotten to work. And I want to tell our viewers because I want to tell our viewers something because When you joined modeling, it gave you a responsibility to represent your people. At the same time, you were given an opportunity to become an actor. And when you joined, you also got a job actually from modeling. You see, all these representations that you were doing when you joined even the company to become.
Yes, they gave me an opportunity with the course that I had learned.
That is so true. And you can see how the interest that you have, they have actually merged so well with everything that you do. So, what can you tell these people who want to give up, and what word of encouragement do you have for them? You can just face the camera and talk to them directly.
Okay, I want to tell you, I know some deaf people have a lot of challenges they've tried but they failed. So please go keep on. The doors will be open for you, the opportunity will be there, and when the opportunity comes, just grab it. Don't be doubtful, just grab it. You never know what will happen in future. Please just keep your doors open, and that's all that I had for you.
Wow, you've seen the focus that she's had, and she's not only focused on one area, she's actually practiced harder for her to be able to transform her mind, and she's actually learned that there's good and and you've seen actually how she was able to transform from being a marathon person, how she broke her leg, but that did not even make her feel like she's ready to give up. No, she decided to open a new door for herself, which, as you can see, was modeling. And she did not just sit down and say, I'm deaf, I have a disability because my leg is broken. No, 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 no. She just rose up and went to look for the opportunities. I really want to congratulate you so much and thank you so much for sharing your story with us and our viewers. Please, if you feel like you're ready to give up, just please join the voice show where you're going to be giving you some motivation and some mentorship. And we're going to educate all of you and any other person who feels like they are not in the right track. Thank you so much. Let's see you next on our next show. Goodbye.